Hi, welcome to the 13th floor. I am Marty Duda. Today we have with us the Tattletale Saints. It's Cy and it's Vanessa. You guys are hot off the trails from Nashville, right?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Freshly in yesterday.
How are you feeling?
Feeling, a little bit ropey, but fine.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool. When was the last time you were in New Zealand together?
Together before the pandemic, 2020, very beginning of 2020, right
I know
before
Cy
it
was
shut
here
down.
since then, right?
Yeah, we've actually both been back. Well, I've been back
Independent?
once, and she's been back twice. I think.
Oh, okay.
I
Sneaking
know,
around.
greedy.
But,
Yeah.
Just for fun though, just
yeah,
to see
together,
family.
2000. In fact, immediately before the pandemic, I remember flying back to the States, and we were like, maybe we should wear a mask. What's this?
Yeah.
What's this thing they're talking about? in
Right.
China, like.
No one knew. I
Now
know.
you know.
Everyone was wiping everything with antiseptic, but breathing all the air. You
Yeah,
know, like,
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, you're all healthy?
We're great.
Healthy.
Yay. Yep. Very good. All right. So we're going to talk about this new album you got. Got your shows coming up, all sorts of stuff. But before we do that, I'm really curious about what each of you does in Nashville. So I know you do a lot of session work. Cy, are you doing gigs on your own?
Yep. Same kind of thing. We both play guitar and bass for different people.
Yep.
Which is at least for me, it's the majority of my income,
Yep.
and that's like all sorts of people, country artists.
Like
we
who?
we both play with Brandy Clark.
Right.
who's
That's
a-
not bad.
Yeah, awesome, great songwriter and like just a cool performer and
Yep.
human, and so that's a really good gig that we get to do together. And that was actually one of the kind of aims when we moved to Nashville, was to do like this, have some kind of session gig, but both be doing it together.
Right.
So it's finally come
Very
to fruition.
cool.
Yeah, it's great. I was playing with Brandy first, and when her guitar player was leaving, she made me musical director, and she said, who do you want to get on guitar? And I was like, well, I mean, I know it sounds like nepotism, but I honestly think that Cy would be the perfect fit for this band.
Yep.
And she trusted me, but I think it took a couple of gigs in, she came to me and she said, you are absolutely right. And he's the perfect musician for it, which was great because I was also like, maybe it is nepotism, maybe I'm wrong. No, it's the vocal harmonies with her, the
Right.
three of us together, and just like the musicality, it's awesome.
All right. To the album. It's called In the Summertime, and it's a collection of covers. How did you choose the covers, first off? Because they're not big hits of...
They're not. Well, they are for us.
Some of them are.
I mean, so
Yeah.
these are all songs that we've played on tour. Which was kind of the premise of the album was, and we always come back to New Zealand in the summertime to
Right.
tour. We've been out of New Zealand for almost 10 years, but we've been coming back every year. And we wanted to make a collection of songs that were all songs that we've played on tour and made our own versions of, and kind of reimagined.
Yeah.
So these songs are all ones that we've played over the last 10 years, and we just kind of had a long list of covers. We went back through old set lists,
Yep.
and we were like, oh yeah, remember we used to play that song? That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And then just found a collection of songs that we loved and that we knew we'd try and do some kind of interesting version of it. So it's not just like a straight cover, it's our take on it.
Now, I see the album kicks off with your version of Carmelita. I was wondering, were you inspired by the Warren Zevon version or the Linda Ronstadt version?
It was the Warren version. I mean, I like all versions,
Yeah.
but the Warren version was the first one that I heard.
Right.
And I'm crazy about Warren Zevon. And it was actually from, I knew a few of his songs, like obviously Werewolves of London and some of his, I think I got Excitable Boy, that record, and I knew about that.
Yep.
And then I read his biography, and it was just so fascinating, such a strange character with so many amazing sexcapades and just his obsession with grey, the colour grey. Like he would do these, every town he'd go into, he'd buy 3 new grey shirts every
I
time.
never knew
He
that.
was obsessed with it. So many amazing stories. But yeah, I love his songwriting. I love the specificity of his lyrics.
Yep.
Little old lady got mutilated late last night.
Yep.
Of course. Best line of all time.
Yeah.
And so that was what drew us to old Carmelita.
Right. So how did the two of you decide who's going to sing what?
Well, it was really from what we were doing live.
Yep.
So we recorded, I mean, the versions evolved in the studio some,
Yep.
but the songs that we chose, we already had the lead singer kind of set. Like the set list came from the album list came from many old set lists, and as we were kind of going through old set lists and gathering possibilities, we were putting together this master list, and we weren't trying to make it even by any stretch, but we were trying to have it be like a reflection of the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And there are songs that, like for me, there are songs that the very first Wayfaring Stranger was like one of the very first songs that I started singing live.
Sure.
Bartender's Blues was one that is like very recent. So
Yeah.
for me, it was like this kind of, and I think for us both, it's trying to capture this picture of what it is. What are the covers that have influenced our sound?
Right. And I see you snuck a few bass solos in there.
What's so funny is like I kept in the studio saying like, do we really need a bass solo? And so I was like, Vanessa, it is your record. You get to have a bass solo.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think the record is a little self-indulgent with those things, but we really tried to keep it as live as possible. We had one very short rehearsal for the songs. We played the songs a bunch of times, but we didn't have a concrete version of how we're going to do the songs. So, and we tried to keep them as though we do them live, which is we jam and it's not like a jam band record, definitely not. But
there's some freedom there. It's not like set in stone, which was really fun.
Yeah, and there's a drum solo on the third track, which I think is pretty early, like one of the earliest examples of a drum solo.
So who's playing drums?
Got this guy Jordan Pearlson, who's an American friend of ours, who actually plays for Brandy, or has been playing with Brandy quite a bit recently. And great drummer.
I think even he was like, "You want a drum solo?" We were like, "Yeah, we do."
And there's some twangy guitar on that thing too.
Bit of twangy guitar, yeah.
So who else is playing on the record besides the two of you?
There is, I play the guitars.
We had John Palmer, who's a keyboard player in town. He played keys and organs. And then we had Rachel Bateman and Christian Settlemeyer, who are 10-string symphony, who we brought out on tour a few tours back. They played twin fiddles on in the summertime.
Yeah.
And also Rachel plays some banjo. So these are the people that we play live with.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're pretty important for us because they came to New Zealand and we met them here, and they kind of introduced to us the idea of coming to Nashville to record or to just come to Nashville.
Right.
So they're kind of the reason why we went there in the first place. And In the Summertime was the track that we used to play together with them all the time. So it seemed like a good homage to them.
Was it difficult to break into the scene coming from New Zealand? I mean, let's face it, most people in Nashville don't even know where New Zealand is. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think the hardest thing, honestly, the first big step is getting a visa. Like often I have musicians in Nashville, in New Zealand, that will message me and say, I really want to come to Nashville. Like, what do you recommend I do? And I'm like, well, how have you figured out the visa? And they haven't even thought about it yet. And I'm like, that is a humongous hurdle. Once you get over that, then it's a really cool scene. It's a really cool community, and I think people are very welcoming. And we hung out and we went to lots of jam sessions and made ourselves available for gigs that paid nothing. And you just have to start at the bottom and climb your way up.
And you have to be professional as well. Like I think that's a real key thing with being a musician in Nashville, is that you can't show up to a rehearsal unprepared.
Right.
You have to know exactly how the songs go, and you have to be on time. And there's this idea that musicians are late and lazy and just disorganized and things, which can be true in some cases, but it doesn't, because there are so many guitarists and so many instrumentalists of every instrument in Nashville. If you show up and you're not ready,
so let's go to the next person.
Very competitive, huh?
Well, it is competitive, but it's also really supportive, I think. But I think the baseline for where everyone is starting is just really high.
Right.
So you start at that level, and then if you're not all those other things, then you won't get anywhere.
Gotcha. All right. Now, one song I was fascinated to see on there was 13, the Big Star tune, Alex Chilton.
Yeah.
So what's your relationship with that tune?
That one, I went and saw, you may have even come to this screening of, remember that Big Star movie?
Yeah.
And they showed it once, I think it was at the big theatre downstairs. There was like some film festival, I can't remember what it was, but I went to see that. And that is what kind of got me onto Big Star. I knew them a little bit from life. But that was always a great song, and the recording of that song was so fascinating to me because they start at one tempo, which is pretty slow, and they speed up so much by the end of the song. Like when they get to the bridge, they're obviously like a little bit stressy, and it just gets really fast. But still, it's a great recording, and like it's a an amazing song. So yeah, it was just a nice one for us to do, and to sing a kind of a parallel harmony for the whole song.
Yeah. I think Jody Stevens, the drummer, is the only one left in the band.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And they're from Memphis, which is in the.
That's right. It was recorded at Ardent Studios, I believe. Which is very famous. But anyway, I digress. Okay, so if you wanted to tell somebody about this record and use one song as an example, which one would you kind of use as the highlight, the centerpiece of the record?
God, it's hard. It's hard because it's such a diverse record.
Right. Yes, because you're doing like Bob Marley, and then Big Star.
Yeah.
I think 13 is a great one to kind of jump off on, I think. And also Wayfaring Stranger, which Vanessa sings, is cool because it is such it's a traditional song. And, our approach was to take these songs and to do something different with them. And I think we've done something different with that song. And it's also got a lavishly long guitar solo, which is, part of the course with that record.
It's like a full, AABA guitar solo. And at one point, Sean, who's the engineer, he's a fantastic musician, and he was, he wasn't officially a producer, but he had some really good thoughts about stuff. And at one point, he even sent us an edit where he'd cut the guitar solo in half, and he was like, I just thought maybe you should hear this. And I was like, nope, I want the whole guitar solo. Put it back in.
I was up to cutting it in half, and she was like, no.
But it's so cool, and it's like this super vibey, dark, and the guitar solo starts like so sparse, and it really builds. And I love those kind of guitar solos that have a huge arc.
Yeah, and I think to me the record was like it's like a journey of these different feels. Of different, like there's a second line feel, which is a New Orleans kind of drum-based feel. There's this kind of marching-ish feel that Vanessa does for Wayfaring Stranger. There's kind of like backbeat.
I like to think of it as a funeral dirge.
Funeral dirge, yeah. And that's a cool thing for us as musicians, is playing these different feels and having a comfortable relationship with these feels. So,
and it's very representative of what we do live. We've always really enjoyed mixing things together and bringing in influences from jazz and from pop and from like the New Orleans feels, like pushing them all together and finding something that really does still work, even though there's all these influences all bubbling away.
Yeah, which sometimes I think our stuff is like all jumbled around all over the place, but
hey,
we're
it's true to us.
Music nerds, and we just like to play music that's fun to play, and playing these different feels is fun.
Yep. All right, now you mentioned the live thing. So when you're playing around here, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be songs from this record?
Yeah, it's actually, we've like, this is like our 4th album. So it's actually really, we're in a position now where we don't have to scramble to find songs, which is really amazing. Because, part of the reason I started singing was that we were like, we don't have enough songs. But now we have so many songs that when we actually sit down to write the set list, it's like, it's hard because there's lots we'd love to play. But we're going to do a few from each of the albums. Definitely some from, many from this new one. A couple of new ones that Cy has written that are brand new songs that are really great. And we're going to kind of mix it all up from things that people have heard us play in the past and things that on this record, these are all songs we played on tour. And we're playing as a duo. So even the ones from this album are going to sound different because they're going to be more acoustic again. But it's going to be really, it's always, Tattletale Saints is always creative. It always feels like just a really fun, creative venture.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And then what are you going to do when you go back to Tennessee?
Well, we,
back to work.
Back to the so we play with Brandon, we play with any and all gigs.
Yeah.
So
because I finally got to Nashville for the first time last year for Americana Fest.
And we were in Europe.
That's right.
And it was just amazing. I mean, there was just music everywhere from 10 in the morning on. It was insane. So as a musician, it has to be just kind of mind-blowing to be in that environment.
It is.
Yeah, it really is. And it's such a great, easy to navigate city as well for a musician. And for people that have lived in, like we lived in London, England for a long time. And even Auckland, it takes a long time to get places, whereas Nashville is so... I live like out by the airport, which is kind of a suburb, and it still takes me 12 minutes to get into town. So it's so easy to get around, which is great.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you for swinging by here. We'll catch you on Sunday night, and hopefully the record will do everything that it should do.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.